So, what does it really mean to be a perfect wife? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty powerful personal testimony that pulls back the curtain on a set of unwritten but super ingrained societal rules for women that try to answer that exact question.
This quote right here, it's pretty much the heart of our entire discussion. It's a really stark and unforgettable way to sum up a traditional expectation placed on so many women. So, what does it actually mean to be blind with your eyes open and mute with your tongue? Let's break it down.
Okay, so the source material breaks this idea down into two so-called golden rules. These are the unwritten laws that women are often taught they have to follow if they want to get any kind of social praise or approval. Let's take a closer look. This slide lays it out plain and simple. First up, be blind. This means you have to actively ignore things that are wrong. You see it, you know it's happening, but you pretend you don't. And second, be mute. This means you never ever challenge disrespect. You hear it, but you stay silent. These two rules really are the foundation of this whole expectation.
And here's the social contract, right? If you follow these rules, it's not seen as you being submissive or weak. No, it's actually framed as a virtue. The reward for all this silence and blindness is praise. You get called a good wife. Someone who adjusts well and keeps the peace.
So that just begs the question, why? Why would a society encourage these rules? What's the thinking behind what's being called the price of peace? Let's find out. Well, the main reason that's given is actually pretty simple. Peace. The entire job of keeping the house harmonious is put on the woman's shoulders, on her ability to just absorb all this negativity and not react. Her silence becomes the tool for stopping fights before they even start. And this is where it gets really personal. The speaker in our source material, she makes this really painful admission. She's seen it in her own life. There are times when choosing not to respond actually did stop a situation from getting worse right then and there. It's a practical observation, but wow, a deeply unsettling one.
Which of course leads us to the biggest question of all. Is a peace that's bought with your silence, with your voice, really worth it? And this is where the whole story takes a really critical turn. Because, as our source argues, what looks like a choice for peace on the surface is very often a compulsion that's really born from fear. This is the unspoken reality for so many women.
Yeah, this slide draws a really powerful line in the sand. The myth that society tells is that a woman chooses to be silent as a strategy. But the reality is that she's often compelled, forced into silence. And that difference between choice and compulsion, it's everything.
So what are these compulsions? What's forcing them into silence? Well, the source gets very specific here. It's a lack of financial independence. It's having no family home to go back to. It's the very real fear of being thrown out. And it's this powerful cultural belief that once you're married, your husband's home is your only home, period.
Now, faced with this reality, the speaker doesn't just point out the problem. She actually proposes a solution. And it's a fundamental shift in how we think. It's a call for real, true equality in a partnership. The whole argument here is about value. Society often just automatically decides that a man's presence, his opinions, his actions, they're inherently important. The call to action is to recognize that a woman's presence, her feelings, and her voice are just as critical to the health of a relationship. This quote just cuts right to the heart of it with such simple, undeniable logic. It acknowledges that, hey, we need each other. And then it asks this devastatingly simple question. If both partners are essential to one another, what's so wrong with them being equal?
And that is the central challenge this whole testimony leaves us with. If we accept that both partners are equally important, then the entire logic of one-sided sacrifice completely falls apart. Why is this massive burden placed on only one half of the partnership? It's a question that just demands an answer.
So where does all this leave us? Well, the final section is all about breaking the silence. It's a call to action, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole.
And let's be really clear, this is not a call for constant fighting. It's about something so much more fundamental than that. It's about making sure a woman has a voice and can be heard without being afraid. It's about agency, not aggression. The source material ends with a direct and actionable appeal to us. It's not just about understanding the problem, it's about doing something. Recognize it when you see it happening. Offer your support, and maybe most importantly, stand with the people who are being silenced so they don't have to face it all by themselves.
Ultimately, this whole thing leaves us with a very personal question. The testimony laid out the problem, the harsh reality, and a path forward through solidarity. Now, we're the ones being asked to support those who are forced into silence. The question is, will we? The choice is ours.